Well, if you were wondering if Sony was still making smartphones, they are. And today we're taking a look at the Sony Xperia XA1, and it's a mid-range phone. And there's one thing right off the bat that I like about the design of the phone that you're going to see different from most of the phone. Everyone's going to the really like curved phone or the smooth phones, and Sony's protecting this sort of square phone. And you know what this makes me feel like when I'm holding it and when I look at it? Remember Matrix?
Yes. I
feel like this is like a Matrix phone. I know Matrix is an old movie and this is a new phone, but you know, that's kind of how I feel about it.
Well, it has a 5-inch screen, which is quite rare these days. You know, back in the day when the iPhone 3 was around, that was a large phone, but right now they've created a 5-inch phone, but it's a very narrow phone. So feels good in the hand, I have to admit. As for one-handed use, it's fantastic. But this is a Sony phone, so Sony being known for their sensors, I've really put a lot into the camera on the back. It's got a 23 megapixel camera on the back and an 8 megapixel selfie cam on the front. The selfie cam is a wide angle, so if you're the type of person that likes to take selfies with others, what they call ussies, then this is the phone for you. Interesting thing that, and I can't believe we talk about this now, but it has a headphone jack. And nowadays, a lot of phones are moving away from that, so if you still want a dedicated headphone jack, this, my friends, might be the phone for you.
But let me tell you, there's actually a bit of controversy around that whole headphone jack thing, and we are seeing some brand new premium phones still coming out with headphone jacks, so I wouldn't say that. But let me just say one thing. The nice thing about the wide angle selfie camera, it thins you out. Like for me, look at that picture.
Oh yeah, you love that, don't you?
It's really good. But I mean, Sony's always been known for their cameras.
Because it's an Xperia phone, and one thing you can always do to tell you have an Xperia phone is there's a dedicated button on the right side. And right in the middle, you can feel that, and that's what you know is your power button. Below that is also another button, and that is to take shots with the camera. So you could kind of use it like a traditional point-and-shoot camera when you want to get those shots.
So we'll talk about some of the horsepower under the hood. It's got 3 gigs of RAM. We're typically seeing 4 gig is the norm these days, so it's got a little bit less. And then it's got the processor inside of it. It's using a MediaTek processor, so not exactly easy to compare straight to straight for everyone who's using the Snapdragons, but nevertheless, going into the phone and sort of going through all the different programs and checking out the UI, as you can see, I swipe to swipe. It is a pretty quick little phone.
Now, it is a mid-range phone, so you're going to have to compromise on some features. For instance, the display is 720 by 1280p. It's not a 1080p, and I think that explains why you see such a small battery in this phone. It only has 2300 milliamp battery, but that's because it's only using a 720 display. So
just to compare that, it's like 5000 milliamp batteries are more the norm these days. Like we're sort of seeing those sizes, so it's literally like half the storage in terms of power. But good point, with the smaller screen resolution, it doesn't draw as much power as well.
That said, it is a 5-inch screen, so you have to take all those into consideration when they decide what kind of battery to put inside a phone like the Xperia XA1. So if you need a phone that can last all day, you might want to stay away from this one over here.
If you want to be like Matrix and super cool and have a slim phone, you might want to get it.
Again, we're looking at the Sony Xperia XA1 smartphone. Retails for about $420 Canadian. Check it out.